Welcome to HIListically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo, certified holistic health coach and health and wellness journalist. This is an empowering place to explore self-awareness, self-love, and transformation through health, healing, and humor. By sharing life-changing experiences, knowledge, and guests with varied expertise, we'll explore who we are, how we got that way, and what it takes to be a happy and healthy grown-up. Mind, body, and spirit. I'm glad you're here. Did you know I went to fat camp? Not a fat camp. The fat camp. The one that was turned into a reality show called what else? Fat Camp. Yep. Camp Colang in Lackawaxen, Pennsylvania, or as campers affectionately called it, lack of action, because, well, we were hungry. Listen, when you're not eating, you get ornery, and then the humor comes out. So honestly, it was a fun summer. I dropped 14 pounds, changed my relationship with food, but what got me there? Not so fun. Puberty was not good to me. Between my father's illness, my parents' divorce, bullying, changing schools, and, well, teenage angst, the one control I had, or I thought I had, was food. And that didn't end well. So let's chew the fat, shall we? That word, fat. What comes to mind when you think of it? Likely it's not so positive, because for a long time, society associated being heavy with being unhealthy, large with lazy. But things are changing. And my guest this week is on a crusade to make fat, fabulous, and fierce. Joanna Lovering has been on that weight loss roller coaster for years, just like millions of us have. But when she turned her focus to embracing the beauty inside and out, discovering the executive presence that builds character, confidence, and style, something shifted personally and professionally. Take a listen. All right, Miss Thing, what an amazing pleasure to have you on HIListically Speaking. I haven't seen you in, I don't know how long, in ages, but good gracious, are you just thriving?
Well, listen, but I have seen you because I've been stalking you on all the socials. So I feel like I've seen you.
If I had a nickel.
Yeah, I know.
No, in all honesty, it's just so great to see those who you know just doing their work and kicking ass and thriving. And honestly, girl, that's what you're doing. So we've got Copper and Rise going on. You've got Plus Amplified that you're launching, and you've got so much happening that is just from your own story. So let's go back a little and talk about Joanna.
Well, unfortunately, I have to say that my story starts kind of on a sad note, which is that in 2007, on Mother's Day, my mom very suddenly and tragically passed away. Yeah, Mother's Day. Thanks a lot. And she and I were very connected. I'm an only child. And needless to say, her passing was pretty traumatic for me. And I, through my sadness, turned to sugary carbs. At least it wasn't drugs and alcohol, which a lot of people use. But, I was very sad, very depressed, and I gained a lot of weight in the subsequent 2 years. Then I kind of came to, because a friend of mine mentioned, do you think maybe it could be your weight that's keeping you down? And I was like, what are you talking about? It was kind of crazy, actually, that I was so in my own head that I didn't really even see myself in the mirror. So I then went on a healthy weight loss, lost 62 pounds in a little over a year, and have a really good, successful weight loss story. Here's the thing, though, is that over time, hindsight is 2020, but I realized that when I gained weight so quickly and then lost weight so quickly, I had a type of body dysmorphia for sure, because my body changed so quickly. I had lost 62 pounds. I say that that's like losing a fourth grader off of my body. and I was running into walls, stubbing my toe all the time. I had no idea where my body began and ended. So I was wearing clothes that were way too big for me, and I had no idea.
So it's still seeing you as what you were rather than what you had become. Still and like, I remember that. I mean, as a kid, I went to fat camp, basically. I went to Weight Watchers camp as a kid. And no matter how thin you get and I hate to use the term thin because thin doesn't always mean healthy,
right.
How much weight I lost, we'll say it that way, I still saw the fat little girl. And even in adulthood, sometimes you look in the mirror and you're like, what's that all about,
Yes. And what I'm trying to do, at least with my business plus Amplified, which we'll talk about later, is normalize the fat and just say, you know what? We are who we are. Fact of the matter is, when I lost all that weight, I hadn't done the mental work to support it. So over time, yes, I've gained the weight back. I maintained it for a number of years. But I will say this, today, I have never felt so grounded. I've never felt so myself and so clear on who I am. And I'm at my biggest weight now than ever before. And I feel so good about myself. As you just said, health can be defined in many different ways.
Yeah.
And definitely. From a mental health standpoint, I have never felt so good. And I say never. I mean, I'm not even just talking about when my mom passed away, right? I come from a divorced family. So even my childhood was wrought with trauma and depression. And I have never felt so good in my body. I mean it.
I can totally relate to that. I remember being, 13, 14 years old when my parents were going through a divorce, and where I went was to food, because it's your control. Much like alcohol, drugs can be in control. It's our distraction, basically. Food became a distraction. It's a comfort, right? So, but at that age, you don't understand what it means to be grounded, because you're still developing and growing. So how grounded is the tree when it's still not the strength of an adult tree, right?
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. We've known each other since about, 2000. When did we start?
2014.
No, so 15.
2014.
2015, you were working with Daily Burn at the time. We were launching the live streaming fitness show. You were in charge of all the talent, the fitness professionals that were coming in to teach classes. And, we bonded. And I remember us having some extensive conversations about weight loss and fitness and the weight loss journey and the hashtag this and the hashtag that. And seriously, right? But I remember I got really in shape with Daily Burn and just getting ready for, big events in my life and just everything else I was doing. But even then, it's like the mental side of it. Are you really mentally prepared for the body that you're living in, the vehicle,
Well, it's an identity shift, especially, for me, I gained about 40 pounds and then I lost 62 pounds and now I've gained the 62 and more. There is an identity shift that goes along with that. And I'm not saying that I want to make it really clear that losing the weight is not necessarily good and gaining the weight is not necessarily bad, contrary to our societal norms. And I talk a lot about other people's rules and how you don't need to take them on. But I'll go on my rant about that in a little bit. But there is a full-on identity shift that goes on when you are living in a different body. And so when I see people who have worked really hard, just like I did, to lose a lot of weight, I want to make sure that they are just as grounded in their identity as they were before. or even more grounded than they were before.
Mhm.
So that, believe it or not, is a part of what I do as an executive presence coach.
I love that term, executive presence coach.
Yeah,
Because
I made it up.
I love it. Why? Look, own it, girl.
I made it up.
I love it because it is our presence, and you do so much of that work. You know, with Copper and Rise, being a stylist, you started this business, Copper and Rise, soon after leaving Daily Burn, and I think you were always into fashion because you always looked so fashionable anyway, even when you're even in athletic wear. But you know, I mean, this is a part of you, basically, from your background, going back to, I mean, your Carnegie Mellon days, building this business, and you've been kind of all over the place. I mean, this isn't like your first touch with development. You working with talent at Daily Burn, working prior to that with your other companies. Copper and Rise is kind of a combination of everything, right?
That's exactly right. It's almost like a culmination of everything. There's no doubt that if a random recruiter looked at my resume, they would think I was a schizo or something. My career, my professional career is a winding road, a patchwork quilt, whatever you want to call it. But there are a few things that are common threads. Number one, I'm really passionate about helping other people feel more confident, period, and feel empowered that they can reach their potential or reach their goals, whatever they may be. That's number one. Number two is that I am a creative being. My mother was an art teacher, and while I cannot draw a stick figure, and I really mean it, or color in the lines, I am a creative being. And so my creativity comes out in both music, because I play piano, but also in fashion styling. I love the art of fashion. So I've combined helping people feel empowered to move forward, get unstuck in their lives, especially their professional lives, by gaining confidence and clarity. And I want them to look and feel like their best, no matter what body they're in, period.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, following you over the years since you launched Copper and Rise and seeing, well, first of all, the outfits you put together, you know, you need help sometimes because we get stuck, or we get so used to this looks good on us. It wasn't until I started playing around with things like Stitch Fix or being with other people who are in the fashion world that you go outside your comfort zone, because we really do get into a comfort zone sometimes.
Oh, of course.
And from that, I've even noticed, you know, especially with all the television work I do, going out, would I have picked that dress to wear on TV if it wasn't suggested to me? And take that risk and see how well it fits my body and how confident and how I stand tall because I look good and feel good in it. Because on the rack, I would never have picked that out.
Listen, we are all creatures of habit. Okay. And from a brain standpoint, we know that routines are easiest for our brain to use, right? They use less mental energy. So change, when people say change is hard, it's actually it's true, because our brains have to build new synapses and new connections. So change, even a change in, I don't normally wear red. I don't know about that. Just even considering something new is actually challenging for our brains to come to terms with.
Yeah, well, talking about the brain is speaking my language, so I'm with you on that one. I love talking about that because we really do have the ability to alter our thoughts, moods, behaviors by retraining the brain. And with the work I do, with the work you do, it's such a beautiful blend together. But talking about Copper and Rise, how that manifested and what that has become. I mean, it has turned into something even more beautiful.
Thank you.
Really has. I mean, it's not just about the clothes. It's so much more. And
well, yeah. So I launched Copper and Rise in 2017. And at that time, it was a style coaching firm. I was primarily working with women, a few men here and there, but primarily women, helping them feel more confident, specifically through changes in their wardrobe. And then the pandemic hit. And even I will raise my hand and say that I'm wearing sweatpants right now. So who is getting dressed?
yeah.
And frankly, I have over 10 years of leadership development and management consulting experience in corporate and startup settings. And the thing is that while I called Copper and Rise a style coaching firm, I threw coaching in there so people would understand that it's not prescriptive. It's very emergent and coachy. I was not explicit about all the leadership stuff that I used to do. I mean, I used to stand up in front of 30, 40, 50 people and teach them how to be better leaders. I used to do that constantly. So I kind of put that aside for a long time because I was like, no, that's my old life and I have a new life and I'm going to focus on the new life. When really now what I'm able to do is combine it all together with the umbrella term of executive presence.
Yeah. Yeah. And this goes back to what you were saying before. When somebody looks at your resume, they're like, whoa, you've been all over the place.
I know.
And I so get it. And sometimes people will say to me, because, I haven't been a coach and a practitioner my entire adult life. I fell into it. I like to call it a falling into because of what I've been through in my life. I wanted to serve others and help others from my own journey. But it has nothing to do with changing careers. It's adding to your toolbox and adding to your skills, bringing my journalism in with what I do now, doing what I do, the storytelling. You're doing the exact same thing, the public speaking. All of that is part of the toolbox and every tool that we put in there that we need when we need it to build a really thriving business that can serve others to its highest potential.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, even for me, it started when I was a kid. I was that musical theater kid, right? Mm. And I still, to this day, do a lot of work around, as you just said, public speaking. Mm-hmm. Public speaking, even over Zoom, people are still freaked out. And so I have actually, in terms of executive presence, which is how you look, how you speak, and how you act, I've been focusing a lot on Zoom presence and how you can tweak just a few little things, a few little behaviors, so you can come off with more confidence and authority and trust.
Amen to that. Yeah, totally. Because if I see one more person looking off to the side in a Zoom when it's like, look at the camera, we do need to learn to make the eye contact. The eye contact is important. Your sound isn't. It's so much of the package deal. People just think they're in their living rooms. And yes, you can get away with wearing your yoga pants, right? But this is your curb appeal, That first thought, that first sight that people see you is your curb appeal. So,
and there's a part of me, I have to tell you, there's a part of me that really hates that. Honestly, I mean, so there was this study done by Harvard Business Review, and they surveyed leaders in North America. 50% of those leaders admitted that looking and acting like an executive was more important than qualifications when it came to promotions. And that makes me sick because I have to tell you, my master's degree at Columbia University was expensive. I cannot believe that looking and acting like an executive to half of the leaders surveyed, they say that looking and acting is more important than what's on my resume.
Than the content too.
That's what I mean.
And the engagement.
Right. Then your technical expertise, right?
Yeah.
How good of a lawyer are you? How good of an accountant are you? How good of an engineer are you? So that kind of kills me. However, all that means is that we need to study our presence and how we make impressions just as much as we study our technical competence. And what's so cool about presence is that it's not ability based, it's skill based. Which means that you can perfect your skills. You can learn and perfect your skills. Abilities, it's like you either have the ability or not. That's a very binary thing. But skills are what you can practice and get better at. And executive presence is just that. It's a skill-based thing.
Love that. I love that. It really is our presence. I mean, our presence goes deeper than just the outside, too. People know when you're being authentic. People know when we are engaging, when we are trying to convey a message, when we're storytelling, when we're active listening to somebody else. People know when we're giving them a load of bullshit. And people, right? And they also know when, oh, wow, this person's listening to what I say and asking really informative questions. And it's not just about hearing themselves talk. You know when someone's being authentic.
This is the stuff that nobody teaches you when you get promoted into leadership.
Oh, is that so?
Of course, yeah. If someone is promoted through the ranks in their company, right? They're promoted because they're really good at their thing. They're not necessarily promoted because they're good at leading a team or they're good at communicating to groups that are remote, let's say. This is a secondary consideration, but first, typically when people are promoted vertically, it's because they are excellent at the thing that they do. So that's why I have a job, Hilary. That's why I do what I do, because I teach people the leadership skills that nobody teaches you.
Good on you, girl. So let's talk about that for a second. You know, we've gone through this pandemic pivot in all of our lives, and you've had one significant yourself with Copper Rise and moving into this next phase of your life.
Right.
And my question is this: what is it that you're wanting to manifest from all that you've been through up to this point? What is Joanna's next step?
You know, it's funny that you asked that. I chuckle. I chuckle because something about me that I am not necessarily proud of is that I've never been a goals person. It's kind of crazy that I say that because I'm a leadership expert and everybody's all about goals. I have, for better or worse, if you asked me, where do you want to be in 5 years? I would say, I don't know, on the beach in Bora Bora. I mean, I have no idea. So, I mean, what's next for Joanna? Listen, I have always wanted to do more TV work. Wink, wink, Hilary. I know.
I accept cash, check, Visa.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I'm quite aware. Quite aware. Venmo payments.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to do more TV work, but fact of the matter is, even though, as we've said a few times, my resume is a little cuckoo, there have been, like I said, common threads throughout. No matter where I am, no matter what I manifest next, I know that my lot in life, the reason why I am on this earth, is to help people feel more confident so that they can get unstuck from whatever rut they're in and move forward with their life's goals. And I care. Yes, guys, I care about you, but I really care about women in the workplace.
I appreciate your authenticity and the fact that you're willing to say that, because a lot of times, and we see this a lot, especially on social media, that everyone, including myself, including you, we have that mission statement, that one-liner, so people kind of have an idea of what we do. But the generics of some of them, you knowing that you're loving to help women, and that, yeah, I mean, there's guys out there there's people out there that will help the guys too, you know?
Yes, of course. Of course. And it's also not to say that I'm unwilling to work with guys. That was a double negative. Sorry. But I am absolutely willing to work with guys, but I am so passionate about seeing more women in the boardroom, period.
Great.
And then sidestep, I'm also really passionate about seeing more size diversity in the boardroom, which is the work that I'm doing with Plus Amplified as well.
Yeah,
so I really want to
definitely.
see fat women in the boardroom.
Are you comfortable saying that word? Are you comfortable calling them fat?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that is a major stance that the ladies of Plus Amplified and I are taking, that we are taking back the word fat, because fat over the years has a negative connotation has been put on top of the word fat, when really it is just a descriptor.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is a descriptor, just like tall, just like short. So we need to strip away the negative connotation. Well, listen, I can talk about this for a long time, but we're reclaiming the word fat. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of the word fat, people will honestly think fat. They think unhealthy. It's the first thing that comes to mind. Or, oh, she's so fat. Oh, he's so fat. That's never a positive. It's not like, oh, he's so fat, and I don't mean pH,
Yeah.
But look, we can go back to the days of the Renaissance. Women were robust. That meant wealth. That meant carrying yourself a different way. But that can also be a negative, So it's reclaiming that word. What is it that you're wanting the word to mean?
Well, we want the word to simply mean the descriptor. Like, my hair is red. Your hair is dark brown. I have brown eyes, etc. We just want it to be stripped away from the negative connotation so that it is simply a descriptor. Now, this is about societal norms. This is about social rules. As you mentioned, in the Renaissance, all the way through to the turn of the century, being fat, being plump, being curvy was a sign of wealth and health for a long time. And then, for whatever reason, our society decided to take that word and add badness to it.
Yeah, I think it was when Twiggy came along.
Well, great. Thanks. 1960s, right?
It was totally Twiggy. Sorry, Twiggy, right? You're gorgeous and cute and stuff, but we're taking fat.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Vogue.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just want people to see through all of the societal norms and rules from other people that have been put on top of the word fat and a lot of other things that encompass being plus sized. These are rules that came down from other people from generations before us. And frankly, it's 2020. We do not have to live by other people's rules anymore, period.
We shouldn't have been living by them anyway, but we're starting to open our eyes to stuff. How much is your mom, if I may ask, a part of everything you do still?
Almost everything. I am so grateful that I have found a way to embody her legacy through my work. Now, first of all, my mother was a teacher. I don't know how she did this. She was an intermediate school, so 7th and 8th grade art teacher her entire life, 33 years. P.S. I was a good kid. I was a straight A kid, and I was still a pisser. I was a terrible kid in art because I hated it so much. I don't know how she dealt with that. Number one. But number two, in her retirement, she went into interior design, just as my grandmother had as well. So she kind of took my grandmother's business and made it her own. So, and my business started out the same way that her business did, which was, I'm going to help some friends out. So I used to help some friends out by going shopping with them. My mom used to go to Home Goods or TJ Maxx, and she would find a chair or a couch or whatever, a bar stool. and she would call up her friends and say, hey, I put this chair on hold for you. You have to go to TJ Maxx in the next 24 hours to check it out. That's how her business started. And I would do the same thing. Hey, I'm at DSW. I put something on hold for you. Please go to DSW in Union Square.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and all my mom wanted to do was invite beauty into your home and invite joy and excitement and a zest for life into your home because you deserve that. And so that's what I am trying to do when it comes to, yes, your clothes, yes, your wardrobe, but also your professional career, your job, what you're doing in your life from a professional standpoint. I invite you to have excitement and joy and zeal.
Ooh, I like that word.
Yeah, zeal.
You don't hear that word a lot. Awesome.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, thank you. So let's talk about Plus Amplified, please. I want to go there. I'm very excited about this journey for you. This is something that actually came out of the pandemic, correct?
Well,
I mean, so many words.
The ladies and I actually started talking about it in February. So technically, we started talking about it before the pandemic, but then it became a thing. It rose from the ashes during the pandemic.
So it was plus, and then it became Plus Amplified.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What is the service? What are you doing with Plus Amplified? What the hell are you doing?
What the hell is this? So Plus Amplified is a coalition of 4 ladies, me being one of them. We have myself being an executive presence coach. We have Stephanie, who is a size agnostic certified health coach. Sarah is a plus size model, influencer, and storyteller. I mean, she's amazing. And then we have Janelle, who is a career and diversity expert. Yeah. So our platform, Plus Amplified, is specifically to help empower fat people to thrive, because there have been so many years, generations, where fat people have been less than. And we've decided that we're going to take a stand. We're not willing to allow more than half of the American population. By the way, do you know that 67% of American women, those who identify as female, are size 14 and above?
Yeah, that's average, right? That's what they're calling average.
Size 14 and above, but that's 67%. That's 2/3 of our population. So that is way more. That is a huge majority. And yet somehow, so many of those women, me and my friends being some of them, throughout the years, we have sincerely felt less than and ill-equipped to deal with, just the world at large. So our platform is here to have events. Eventually, we're going to do in-person retreats, workshops, in order to give tools and resources to fat people in order for them to thrive in our world, period.
Wow. We need that. I battled my weight for a good majority of my life, especially when I was younger. And I think I still sometimes go back to the fat kid. I don't know if I was considered fat. There were some years where I was not healthy by any means. And I remember that. And it's why I went to fat camp. And it's why my parents were like, let's send her away, to get control of what she has control of, which is unhealthy control. But when you say this, and I think about how we can truly amplify the positive and the presence, it's so needed. And going back to your point about the 67%, this doesn't floor me, because we've seen them change the labels on sizes. They up them like 1 or 2 sizes, so women don't think they're in the double digits, right? that you've seen that, I'm sure. And then also it's like so inauthentic, and who the hell cares what size you are? Wear what fits and feels beautiful on you, right? And men too. But I remember when I was doing fit modeling, and I would think I was like a 8, sample size 8, 6. Mm-hmm. I was still in the plus size category because that was too big. When I would go out to clients to see if I was their, their size for their, fit model, I wasn't a size 8 for a size 8 on the shelf. I was a size 8 for what would be considered plus size clothing. And that,
Bart.
Oh, it was, it killed me because suddenly you start thinking that numbers matter.
Well, listen, I'm happy to report that there has been a renaissance in the past, I would say 5 years or so, mainly started by people like Ashley Graham, who is the first plus size supermodel, and also, frankly, by Kim Kardashian and Beyonce. Yeah, big time, because they were two women who have really promoted curves in our famous people. Before them, I mean, remember late 2000s, we were still dealing with very, very androgynous bodies. And I'm not saying that one body type is better than the other. What we're trying to say in Plus Amplified, as well as in my business, Copper and Rise, is that you are absolutely perfect exactly the way you are. And if you wish to change your body in some way by losing weight or getting a nose job, all the more power to you. But our society has no right to tell you who you should be and what you should look like, period.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it's in addition to the women that you mentioned, the Kardashians and the Beyoncés, I love that we're seeing more real women. When I'm looking to pick a bathing suit, a lot of times now you'll see, here's the girl in the size 4 bathing suit. Here's another girl in the size 8, and here's one in a size 14. You get to see the beauty of 3 different absolutely exquisite bodies wearing it and owning it well. And I am more attracted to companies that actually do that.
Yeah, and that's a new thing. That's a new thing where major brands like The Gap are in their campaigns, including plus size models. And by the way, when to your point, a lot of plus size models are simply size 10. So I'm waiting for the next iteration, which is throw me a size 30 and then I'll be happy. But for now, listen, nothing happened. Rome wasn't built in a day. We are getting there. The fact that Plus Amplified can even exist right now, that is new. Because there have been a lot of people over the years, think about when we were kids, where we were ashamed to even label ourselves as plus size or label ourselves as fat. Now, at least there's been a renaissance where people are like, yes, I'm plus size. Let's go.
Yeah.
So people are at least owning it and integrating that into their identity. So I don't know if Plus Amplified could have existed prior to 2020, but I'm sure happy that it does now. And it's also about the community too. Like Plus Amplified as well is about fat people getting together and feeling, I want to say normal, but it's not normal. Normal is such a sticky word. But what I mean is we don't want fat people to feel like they're sticking out anymore. Frankly, they never did, especially because size 14 and above is the majority in the United States. But we just, there is just an element of normalcy. Let's put it that way. There's just an element of a community of like-bodied people coming together that's going to make you feel more grounded. So Plus Amplified is about the community as well.
Yeah, Well, community is everything. Community is everything. When you know you're not alone, when you know that there's other people that you can volley the information back with, maybe they're not going through the exact same thing. Maybe they are a size 14 and someone else is a size 26, but you're both dealing with something that you can gravitate to each other. There's a sisterhood there, right?
Yes.
We need community, especially women. We are a sisterhood. Yes. We need each other. So this is a unbelievable outlet that you're providing. Look, the pandemic has created so many freaking fabulous things.
It's incredible, isn't it? Listen, this year has been abominable. We know this. Yeah. There's no doubt that it's been a shit year. And I gotta say, there are things that have happened this year that may not have happened even on a micro scale with my business. I'm not quite sure that I would have felt the need to pivot. And instead of saying pivot, I want to say expand my business towards executive presence. And I'm so glad that I did, because I actually feel so much more at home using all of the years of leadership development stuff that I used to do. It actually feels really, really great to be back in that world. And I don't know if that would have happened if we didn't, get stuck in our homes for years on end.
I think it's March 70,000th.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the day on the calendar? That's such a great point, because I feel the same way. And I think you and I are on the same page here. And a lot of this might stem from not having the distractions so much of the outside world. We're travelers. We do a lot we're our feet are on the ground. We're stepping a lot. Moss doesn't grow under our feet. And I believe much of my own success too, because I'm so on the page with you, girl, is that we've had the time to nurture and grow and create and collaborate. And much of that is due to the fact that, where the hell am I going? Plus, no distractions of other people. Like, we're single women. There's an empowering sense of that. I got to be honest.
No, 1000%. Listen, there's pros and cons to everything, right? Because we don't have a lot of distractions, yet I've been horribly lonely, right? Even my dog is sick of me, I swear. But I agree with you that the lack of dinners out, the lack of tickets to a show, the lack of dates, just the lack of those distractions, I agree with you, have given us this unprecedented amount of time with ourselves, which at first freaking terrified me. I, as a textbook extrovert, someone who gains energy from being around other humans, I was, at the beginning of this pandemic, I was bottom of the barrel. I got to tell you, I had to increase my meds. I was a mess, because literally not being able to be around human beings was very, very difficult for me. After a while, I think it started to normalize, and I've now been able to figure out what it's like to be with myself a bit more. I've never had to do that before. And I've been able to be more creative and productive during this time. It's kind of incredible. I agree with you. Although I do miss my Broadway shows, girl.
Girl, I'm trying to think the last time I was in a theater. It's and the last time I was actually. Oh, do you? Tell me.
It was my birthday, March 6th, and I saw a preview of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with Laurie Metcalf.
Oh,
it was incredible.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
And it never opened. She absolutely would have been nominated for a Tony, but it never opened. It was still in previews, so they couldn't get a nomination. But it was a Tony-worthy performance. Anyway, I could go on and on about this.
Isn't that It's so interesting to me that we're in this pandemic and we've kind of gotten used to being at home, working from home, doing the Zooms, creating our schedules have changed. They don't really involve doing much more than maybe taking Toby out for a walk, running to the store. Same with Miss Eliza. She's probably so sick of me that when I start traveling again, I don't know what she's going to do. But it definitely has propelled me into this amplification of my own career on a whole different level, and we don't go back. There's no going back. People keep saying, I just want things to go back to the way we're not going back to anything. No. We're going forward.
Right.
So go with it,
at the beginning of the pandemic, I think the rules and regulations of the pandemic hit us so quickly and so hard that there obviously was so much resistance.
Yeah.
Of course, I was crying every day, right? So much resistance and mourning for our old lives, for our normal lives. Mm-hmm. Hence, this is why I think there continue to be so many anti-maskers, right? They just, don't get me started on that shit. But anyway, so listen, there was a ton of resistance at first. And then over time, I was able, and I'll just speak for myself, but I was able to first accept our new way of living and then integrate our new way of living into my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're thriving and you're amplifying.
Yes, girl.
I love it.
Thank you.
You've got some stuff coming up with Plus Amplified that we're definitely going to mention and share in January. So that's going to be amazing and going forward. So we'll definitely put that in the notes and let people know what's going on and send them to your website for that. But if you want to talk about it briefly, go ahead, go for it.
Well, Copper and Rise is starting the Presence Studio in late January. The Presence Studio is a 12-week mastermind with like-minded women, and we go through all of the pillars of executive presence, how to speak, how to act, and how to look in order to put your best foot forward. And then Plus Amplified, we're having our next event. We don't have an exact date yet, but it'll be at the end of Jan, beginning of February. And we're going to be talking about sex, love, and relationships as a fat person. What was that?
I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Because intimacy is a big thing too. Intimacy is very important to talk about, especially when we are, and look, I'm not plus size, but I can identify with not feeling confident sometimes in my own body and sometimes wondering what will a partner think of my body compared to someone who's like a fit model or something. We go through that. Our brain loves to take us to that place, and we have the control to pull ourselves back and retrain it to think in a different way of being. But we're human, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you have these things coming up. I want to take a moment with you to do a little rapid fire. Oh, that was a horrible rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
I've always sucked at rolling my R's. I could never speak Spanish well. People would look at me like, you're ridiculous. Please just stick with what you know, which is barely English. All right. So I want to do rapid fire with you, pulling out some words from our conversation and then let you have a moment to leave some last closing thoughts with our fabulous Holistically Speaking listeners. Here we go. You ready, girl?
I'm ready. Oh my gosh, I'm a little nervous.
Drum roll.
Oh,
here we go.
Okay.
All right. Confidence.
Superpower.
Presence.
Impressions.
Grounded.
Identity.
Loss.
Sadness.
Pandemic.
Fuck.
Okay.
Fuck.
It's okay. Explicit warning. And fat.
Beautiful.
Love it. Amen to that. That's awesome. So in closing, my dear, please take a moment to share with Holistically Speaking listeners what you would like their takeaway to be.
I want everyone to just remember something that I said before, but I really truly believe that this is 2020. And we have always operated under rules that have been passed down from us, whether it's rules about our bodies, our place in the world, our place in the workplace. And I just want you to know that we all have the power to choose whether we want to take on those rules or not. I'm going to assume that most of your listeners are in America, and America is supposedly the land of the free, right? So I want you all to know that we have the power to be free and make decisions that serve us, and not necessarily decisions that are based on rules that served others.
Take your power back.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, we have to. I mean, there is nothing worse than living a life that is somebody else's. There's nothing worse. And I did it. I did it for a long time. And I think there are probably most people, especially women, I think we all have examples, large and small, where we have lived life under other people's rules that didn't necessarily serve us. And I want you all to know that we have the power to change that.
And scene.
Boom, mic drop.
Boom. Serious mic drop right there. Love it. You're such a joy. I love having you around. I mean, I miss seeing you in person and give you hugs.
I know. We had a lot of fun on that set, girl.
We did. We really did. But
We'll have
to make new fun when we are out of this crazy tomfoolery shenanigans thing that we're going through in life. But you know what? I'm just going to try to lighten it up a little bit there. But thank you for sharing time. And
yes. And congratulations on HIListically Speaking. Listen, we talked all about me, but I just want to throw out there that, Hilary, you are doing so much good in this world by sharing your expertise, sharing your love, which you always have. And now you're just doing it in a different context with this podcast and all of the coaching work that you're doing. And I'm really excited for you and support you wholeheartedly.
I felt that. I feel the same. I accept that. And thank you. So much gratitude for you.
All right, listeners. Well, keep on listening to Hilary, man. She is killer. Yes, this woman is a superwoman.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Thanks, girl. Love you.
Love you too.
You can find out more about Joanna, Copper and Rise, and Plus Amplified by visiting the website. The link is on the podcast page. And if you have an inspiring story you'd like to share or want to learn more about how I can support you on your healing journey from trauma to triumph, connect with me on my website at hilaryrusso.com. You can also reach out to me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Hilary Russo. I'd love to hear from you. HIListically Speaking is produced by Alan Seals with music by Lipbone Redding. Connection is everything, my friend, and aligning with you is why I'm here. So thanks for listening. And until next time, remember this: be kind to your mind and don't forget to laugh.